Hey, bundle students, this is Dylan here. I wanted to make a short video for week 3, just so that you're familiar with what assignments we're working on as a class to make sure that you don't fall behind. Remember that this week, week 3, we don't have class due to the 4th of July holiday. And I hope you're having a good 4th of July weekend, kind of as we speak. It's Friday afternoon. Since this video is going to be a little longer, maybe I'm thinking 5 to 10 minutes, I'm not going to re-record this thing, so you're going to see some issues and mistakes and stutters, but that's okay. It's just natural, I guess. So I wanted to show you kind of how the Blackboard page looks from your end. This is once you pop into the summer bundle Blackboard page, head over to assignments, click on week 3, and you'll see the English comp folder. There will be a sociology folder, but for now I've hidden it just because it's not complete. But if you do pop into the English comp folder, this is what you'll see. You're going to see this week broken down into 3 major steps. The first one is outlining. The second one is drafting. The third one is making a meeting with Drew or me. And then this last item here isn't necessarily a to-do item. It's just the essay prompt so that you have it again. And if you weren't there in class for week 2, that's okay. This is to refresh or really to give you information on the first essay assignment, what I'm expecting for this assignment, and it gives you some details just to get started. But I want to start up in number 1, this outlining phase. So outlining pretty basically is taking ideas that you've generated in a free write or in a word cluster or some kind of free writing activity and putting them into a framework, a roadmap for you to navigate as you draft. If you pop open the essay outline document here just by clicking on it, and then by clicking on the document that should open up in the bottom left, you'll see what an essay outline looks like. And this document is for you to use. So you're welcome to type right in this and then just save over it. Save it and retitle it and make sure that you know kind of that it's your essay outline and not just the example, the template. The essay outline is broken into, in this case, 3 major sections, and then there are sort of 5 components total. The first component that's also a section is this introduction. Your introductory paragraph should do really 3 big things. It should have a hook to draw in your readers, which in this case is your instructors and your peers. And then it also should have some context on your topic, right? If your topic is a little bit unfamiliar maybe to your reader, it'd be a good idea just to introduce the topic to sort of bring them onto the same page. And then lastly, in your introduction, readers should be able to find your thesis statement. Most often, the thesis statement, which is just your main point for the essay, is the last sentence in the introduction. As we talked about in week 2 in class, I'm not into these really rigid structures if they aren't working for your paper. I give you this structure just as sort of a model for you to work from, but if your thesis fits more naturally in the middle of the intro, or maybe even like in the second of 2 introductory paragraphs, that's okay, right? Make this essay format or this outline work for you in your purpose. I'm going to come down to the next major section, which is the body section. So in this example template, there are 3 body paragraphs. You don't need to have 3 by any means. You can have 2 that are a little longer. You can have 5 or 6 or 7 that are a little shorter or that are middle length. Again, write according to your purpose and to your audience, which is, again, us, your teachers and peers. In this case, though, there are 3, and typically each body paragraph has 1 topic sentence. The topic sentence, think about it just as your main point that supports the thesis. So if I'm thinking about the example that we worked on in class, where I had you thinking about Midwestern culture, we had talked in class about how Midwestern culture, because of where we live, we are often socially isolated, and bars sort of serve as the hub for social gathering. And that in and of itself can lead to problems with alcohol use. That was kind of the example that we had workshopped in class. So I think in the model that we had worked through together, the first body paragraph was just about the region and how the region sort of lends itself to being isolated because we're spread out. So for example, you would plug in the topic sentence, that is that kind of main idea, main supporting idea. And then from there, fill in different examples, details, or explanations, stories that show that main point, or just like development for that main point. Similarly, you want to do do that with the topic 2, this sort of second body paragraph, and then this third body paragraph, and fourth and fifth if you need them. If I were you, I would, and if you have your thesis, your kind of main point down, I would think, what do my readers need? There's one of those mistakes. What do my readers need to know right away in order to get into this essay? So, for example, if I'm writing about maybe men in our culture and the ways that they are socialized not to express emotion, that's just one example essay idea. I might start off by just talking about kind of culture as it is for men, right? This idea that boys are taught don't cry, that sort of thing. That might be an obvious kind of topic sentence number 1. And then I might continue to move on to different points throughout that essay, depending on how you want to work through that idea. The last section is on the conclusion. The conclusion usually restates the thesis, not just exactly word for word or even using synonyms like the same words. You want to just kind of recap the main point for the essay using significantly different words. And then you sort of want to close out of the essay, leaving readers with final messages. This is really a point where you can send them off with an idea, with maybe how this idea applies to their future. So lots of different options there for the conclusion, but make sure that it restates the thesis and then sort of closes out the essay. So that's the outline. I'm going to get rid of that. I did attach here the quick guide to writing too, which is just kind of a reference document for you to look at if you get stuck at any point in your essay. The quick guide covers what should go into an introduction, body paragraph, and conclusion. It also covers some pre-writing and drafting basics. The last thing I linked to here is a section of the book, our open educational resource book that I really like on writing a first draft. And I mentioned in this next piece here that I like this section because it says very basically, the key to drafting is just writing. Even if you come at it without an outline, that's okay. You might be a little bit more skewed, but like that's okay. The key here is writing, getting something down on paper, and we can work with what you have. So that's the first item there. This folder I did create as an assignment, so you can upload your outline to this folder if you want Drew or me to be able to access it, or if you just want to save it here for safekeeping. As we've talked about before, keep every single document for your writing process because it'll all go into the portfolio. So the second item here is on drafting. Drafting is essentially building a first essay draft, typically from an outline or at least from a brainstorm. I give you some things here to keep in mind. The first is that I want you to remember to write for us, your peers and teachers, right? So use a tone, use words that are appropriate for that. But I also want to make sure to emphasize that you write in your own voice. Please don't expect, or I should say, know that we're not expecting you to write in some highly academic, jargony way if that's not your style. Write in a way that does suit you, especially for this first draft. If there is something that just doesn't work, we'll help to edit that and make it so it does work. But write in your own voice, so use your own words, ideas, stories, strategies you're comfortable with, that sort of thing. Let's see here. So I included in this attached document is just an example essay. It is an example essay that is not built for the prompt, but what it does is give you a visual of how an essay should look with the double spaced formatting and with a 12-point font. So if you click on that and open it up down here, you'll see what I mean. So most academic essays, again, they're double spaced, 12-point font. They typically have this last name and page number up here. Real quick to do that, go insert on the top and then come over to page number down here. And then you should be able to add that at the top, typically at the top right, and then to add your last name, just like triple click and then modify that. So I know that was real quick. If you didn't get it, that's okay. I'll help you with that. Most academic essays will also follow this formatting where it goes your name, teacher's name, the class name, and then the date. If you do remember, pop on a title. I'm not too concerned about that for the first draft, but title it. And then I just want to cover, so to put it in a double space, highlight the entire essay, and then, oops, oh shoot, missed that. I'll try that one more time. Highlight the entire essay, come up here to this arrow under, or these two arrows under home, and then click 2.0, and it'll pop it into double spacing. and then to do 12-point font, come up here to 12, and then your font. You typically want Times New Roman. Again, that's what most other instructors expect, so that's why we're requesting it here. Not a deal breaker if you don't get that done. So I'm getting rid of that for now. So there's your second item, drafting, which is essentially getting your first draft done. Again, this is an assignment folder, so you can pop the first draft in here so that we save it for your portfolio. You're also just welcome to bring it to the meeting with Drew or me. Speaking of, the third item here, which you can actually do first if you would like, but I put it as number 3 because it might be most effective that way. Drew and I want you to drop in on Wednesday if possible between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Drop in, no need to make an appointment if that day and time range does work for you. Drew and I will just be sitting in the learning commons space, which is attached to our classroom, available to help you one-on-one with your writing. We sort of want to look at where you're at with your essay and then help you work toward next steps. So even if you come with that first draft fully written, we'll have some kind of suggestions in mind for you to continue working on, because you'll do a second draft and maybe even a third draft for your essay. Even if you're like, I haven't even thought about this essay yet, that's okay. You're still welcome to pop in on Wednesday between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. We strongly encourage that, just so Drew and I can get you on the right path. If the time range does not work, please call or text or email us, and then we can set up a different appointment. We're pretty flexible. We can do Zoom, especially if you got kids at home or just life is coming up. Like we're happy to do that. Last thing, as I mentioned before, here's the essay prompt, just in case you need it. This showed up in week 2 as well. And to remind you, in case you missed week 2, this essay, the main question or main prompt for you to explore is describe your own culture or how your culture shaped you and your identity. You can understand that word culture in any way that you want to. So for instance, I might, like when I think about my culture, I think about Midwestern culture, lacrosse culture. I also think about American culture. I think about the culture of higher education for me. I think about my family culture. They have a particular kind of culture or way of being. So you can interpret that term however you want to. In fact, I want you to interpret that term however you want to. And so that's your essay prompt. That's sort of meant to drive your thinking on this essay. Again, we don't want you to use research for this thing, so no need to worry about going to outside sources and plugging them in here. We just want your own knowledge to show up, your own lived experience to show up in this essay. I don't have a rubric, but what I did put in here were best practices, just things that are typically required or suggested to get a level 4 or like the high, like you fully meet the competency. Some of these best practices include having an essay that's at least two pages double spaced or 1 page single spaced, having an introduction that meets these criteria, body paragraphs that meet these criteria, conclusion that meets these criteria, and then lastly, tone and content that are in keeping with these suggestions. This, like I say, best practices, because there is some gray area and some room to give there. So if you come at this thing with like a 4-page essay or like a 1.5-page essay that nonetheless does the job, that meets most of these criteria, I'm a happy camper, and I think you'll do just fine in this essay. I want to remind you that this academic essay carries a ton of weight for your portfolio. It actually meets 11 out of 13 English competencies, and then maybe 3 or 4 of the social ones. So this essay is very, very important. Even if you don't get to the practice assignments in week 2, that's okay. Focus on this week 3, this essay, which is your own essay, because it carries so much weight. Hoping that you can have the rough draft done by Wednesday, 7/7. I can be flexible if life comes up. You know that already. So I think I'm going to be quiet now. I've been talking for a long time, but please, please, please reach out to one of us if you have any questions or concerns. We're here for you. We'll be cheering you along the way and helping with whatever you need. Have a happy 4th weekend, and I'll see you not this week, next week, probably Monday. All right, bye all.